Europe's had a profound crisis of identity since the World Wars. All the pillars the West used to justify its own superiority, for better or for worse, such as Christianity, white supremacy, Western civilization, and capitalism, have been torn down to a certain degree. Europe's highly individualistic nature has resulted in a plethora of pseudo-religions filling the void coming out of the decline of Christianity. Some of them take up the ritual and communal aspects like fan communities, romantic or wellness culture. Others take a philosophic route like communism, social justice, or Nazism, and others like neoliberalism have tried to make as much money as possible to fill the moral void. Going forward, we're going to split Western civilization between America and Europe, which are ideologically very different spots. In Europe, the world wars were deeply crippling. Nazism was so evil and horrifying that much of Europe afterward basically decided to go for the exact opposite. While the Nazis were nationalistic, hyper-masculine, racist, and militaristic, modern Europe is transnational, generally dislikes aggression, is multicultural and pacifist. However, when you push anything to an extreme, absurdity ensues. You need to have more than one dot in your moral framework. By trying too hard to not be Nazis at the expense of alienating nearly half my fanbase, I'm going to say Europe's become pathetic. It's shrunk from 38 to 24% of the world's economy since 1965, while the US has remained a stable quarter. It continually sheds its inventor and creative class to America since its bureaucratic state constricts anyone who wants to do anything. The European Union's incapable of dealing with crises. Big Brother America stepped in and bailed out Europe in the 2008 financial crash, Yugoslavia, Libya, and guess who's currently managing Europe's foreign policy against Russian aggression? America. Western Europe free rides off American defense while imbibing American culture while enviously hating America. Europe's main ideology has been comfort. Comfort for their own populations with nice welfare systems, comfort from the dangers of international politics that the Americans can handle, and comfort from having to ask difficult questions about what Europe means anymore. Similarly, Europe's collapsing birth rates putting it into similar issues as the Confucian East Asian nations. Europe's dealt with declining birth rates by importing immigrants, but hasn't really done a very good job of integrating said immigrants. In America or Canada, for example, practically everyone's of immigrant ancestry, and the societies are great at assimilating immigrants. This isn't the case in Europe, where, for example, Muslims are often radicalized since they don't feel at home in the European societies. As Europe ages, it'll also get poorer. America is also getting less and less willing to support Europe as it has more issues at home. Europe will have a profound crisis of identity in the years to come. Europe will have to make very difficult choices about what it stands for. There's so much random chaos here. Christianity, which was the main glue holding Europe together, has little sway. Most Europeans today follow a secularized version of Christian values while generally being atheist. The European religious are actually less religious on average in terms of praying, believing in God, going to church, etc., than the American non-religious, for reasons I'll explain in the next segment. Europe will either break under the pressure or develop a totally new ideology. I hope the Europeans don't turn to extreme nationalism and racism, which seems to be the logical extension of their right. The American and European right are interesting, that the American right, with even under the libertarian wing, being pretty Christian, but when I talk to European right-wingers, I struggle to see what they believe in besides sort of knee-jerk Western civilization, that when you boil it down means I don't want more brown people and left-wing ideology, which is not a coherent motivational ideology to go forward with. However, unless Europe tries something totally new, it will break and shatter under the pressure like the ancient Greeks or Romans did before. The European left and right don't have expansive views of the world, more just get rid of people I don't like. Europe isn't a highly cohesive collectivist society like China or Korea that will force itself to pull itself together under pressure. Europe's individualist and atomized, and so if it loses its way, it'll die. Russia's in a very similar position to the rest of Europe here, with declining birth rates and lack of any real expansive ideology. I also think Russia would either break again under the pressure or be able to reform. Russia's pulled several Hail Marys across its history, whether with Ivan the Terrible, Stalin, or Peter the Great. The Russians still have a certain grit and stoicism missing from the rest of Europe. However, it was also beaten down in the 20th century more than the rest of Europe. I put the chances that Russia gets its act together around a quarter.